feeling that he was going to take us up, maybe to the roof and just gun everybody down, and just thought, right, I've got to try and give myself a chance to get off this staircase.
Meltem Moisenoglu also made a quick choice. That night she was wearing a black shawl over her evening dress.
I immediately put that huge pashmina over my head and covered half of my body and over my neck. So, you know, the image they were seeing was a covered Muslim, middle-aged woman.
Just a few flights up on the same stairs, Drew Dixon and Deborah Bain were overcome by the suffocating smoke.
We couldn't breathe, we couldn't see, and we knew we'd die if we stayed in the stairwell.
So I turned to Deborah and I said, look, we've got to get back to your room.
The same thick smoke gave Alex Chamberlain hope. Unseen by the gunman, he noticed a door in the stairwell.
And I said to the person behind me, I'm getting out here, come with me. I didn't know what lay behind that door. I just assumed it would be a door onto the main floor of the hotel, and I'd just push the door open and leg it probably. And what I found instead was this kind of alcove off a fire staircase with a padlocked door just right where the gunman's just about to come past.
As Alex and his companion held their breath in the alcove, Drew and Deborah struggled back to Deborah's room. It was now full of smoke. They smashed a small window and sucked in what air they could.
Honestly, what do? You can't get out of the building, you can't leave the room, you can't breathe out in the corridor, you can't see. This is the only place you can stay now. We're under siege now. This is really, really serious.
Down in the fire stairs, Alex's hiding place was also filling with smoke.
We had to go back onto that staircase where we'd just, been through hell. We now had to go back onto it again and into the unknown.
They picked their way down to the lobby, full of smoke, strewn with bodies, but luckily now empty of gunmen. Then they walked straight out the front door of the hotel.
I try not to think about the what-ifs. I try and remind myself how incredibly lucky I am to have got out.
The group that Alex Chamberlain had escaped from, and that Deborah Bain and Drew Dixon had only just avoided running into, now reached the end of their march. At the top of the stairs, the gunmen separated the men from the women and lined them up.
And he raised his gun. I thought he's going to shoot us. This is crazy. We are hostages. He shouldn't do that. Meltem cried out, hey, he's a Muslim.
I asked my husband to prove them that he's a Muslim. And we had to, make a prayer.
And I know only one surah from Quran. It is the shortest one, which you recite at funerals. So I started reciting that. He said, okay, okay. As he was positioning his gun, he told me with his left hand to bend down or something like that. And I threw myself face down to the stairs. And at that very moment, he started shooting. The shells were raining on my head, on my body. And blood of all the others behind me were on my shoulders, on my head, on my legs.
And then, total silence. My husband said, I'm not shot, but I didn't believe him. Because I hear you don't feel it at the beginning. I couldn't look back. Everybody was dead.
I don't think that was a plan. They just wanted to kill as many as possible. This was the whole story. They just wanted to kill.
Just 1 hour after the first shots, one of the world's great cities was in the stranglehold of a multi-pronged organized attack. The Taj Hotel, the Oberoi Hotel, and Nariman House were all under siege.
Over 100 people have been killed in Mumbai in a series of coordinated attacks on India's financial capital. Police have cordoned off all of the parts of South Mumbai where the attacks have been taking place.
Well, what is going to happen? We don't know. Is it a terrorist attack planned by some big organization? No, we don't know.
Police say the gunman knew the layout of the hotels better than they did.
This night would be a very crucial night for Mumbaikar and for the Mumbai city and even for the Mumbai police.
Mumbai's police, armed with World War II bolt-action rifles, and helpless to predict the attacker's next move, were at first paralyzed. India's tactical response troops were in Delhi, more than 600 miles away. Those hiding knew none of this.
All I could think about was, why aren't there any sirens? Why isn't there any noise here?
It was quite eerie because we were looking across into a block of apartments, and I'll never forget watching a guy in his bathroom cleaning his teeth while the hotel opposite is being bombed and burnt down, and he was carrying on as though it was just nothing was happening.
So there's a dawning realisation of, oh no, like bloody hell, what do I do now? How serious is this? How many people are doing this? Who knows what's going on?
I had my editor with me, who's just a bit of a tech sort of guru, and he seemed very quickly. I turn around and he's hacking into the wireless in the hotel, and he's got his iPhone in one hand, getting online. He's got his BlackBerry, and he very quickly fed us information. As soon as reports started coming through on CNN,
I had a BlackBerry and a cell phone. And from the second that I could physically take out the BlackBerry and the cell phone, right after we'd escaped from the Harbour Bar up to Haman Ober's office, I was on them.
Over the next 2 days, cell phones, BlackBerries, and iPhones became a crucial link to the outside world. These simple consumer technologies empowered the hostages and provided the key to surviving Mumbai: information.
At this point, they are saying that things are happening at the Taj, at the Oberoi, have happened at the Victoria Terminus Station, have happened at Leopold Cafe.
Now that changes your perspective, because you start to think they're not going to be able to get us out of here quickly, because they don't know how many terrorists there are. They don't know how many sites are going to be attacked. They don't know on what scale it's happening.
So it just made me feel like, I guess, we had to take matters into our own hands as much as we could. Our American cameraman Josh SMS'd his mother in Texas, and I guess she got online and managed to find a floor plan to the Taj Hotel, and she sent it to him. He told me that there was kind of really no way out for us. We were kind of very much cornered in that part of the hotel.
The hostages weren't the only ones using cell phones for information. The terrorists were relying on them too. A deadly, high-tech game of hide-and-seek had begun.
They could watch the same television. They had cell phones. And you've got to assume that whoever was masterminding this whole thing as well is watching it all unfold.
Intelligence agencies recorded constant phone calls between the gunmen and their handlers in Pakistan.
सब चीजों को मीडिया रिकॉर्ड कर रहा है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा नुकसान पहुंचाओ। लड़ाई करते रहो, जिंदा गिरफ्तार मत होना।
They took my mobile phone, and my mobile was with them from that time on, and they talked through my mobile.
At home we received a bill for her telephone at least 6 times more as she would receive, although she talks a lot. There were 1.5 pages of conversations from India on the telephone bill.
हमने 4 कमरों को आग लगा दी है। जब सोने दिखाई दे तो लोगों को अपना तफरी में इधर-उधर भागना चाहिए। हर 15 मिनट बाद ग्रेनेड फेंकते रहो, इससे खौफ फैलेगा।
Oh yeah, did you see it? Police have confirmed that gunmen have used hand grenades and automatic machine guns in their attacks. The identity of the gunmen remains unclear.
Only a handful of people saw the gunmen up close. With a young woman from Singapore and 2 women from India, Saifi and Meltem Moisenoglu were the only hostages left from the group on the stairs. The gunmen were moving them through the Oberoi on orders from Pakistan.
It's hard to accept that you fall into such a situation. It's hard to accept that you let your wife fall into such a situation.
From the attic, they took us down again. They wanted the police to believe there are more than 2 people in the building.
At least 5 gunmen are holding hostages inside the hotel, and they're well armed.
I was their scout. I was going to the large atrium of the hotel. I would just go wander out there, look right, look down. I would say, it's okay, it's free. Then one frightened terrorist would come, crawling behind me, and drop a grenade and run away.
At Nariman House, Nanny Sandra Samuel was still hiding in the pantry, unable to communicate with anyone. In the kitchen above, the gunmen were receiving constant instruction.
अगर तुम्हें खतरा महसूस हो तो किसी को जर्दवाल बनाकर खुद पर बोझ मत डालो, उन्हें फौरी तौर पर कत्ल कर दो.
The rabbi, his wife and son, and a handful of visitors were all in the house.
उसको दरवाजे को एक जानिब खड़ा कर दो. उस पर इस तरह गोली चलाओ कि वो उसके सर में से गुजर जाए. गोली उसके जिस्म में घुसी हुई नहीं रहनी चाहिए. ऐसे करो, मैं सुन रहा हूँ.
Really all we had to go on, like so much was sound. It was very much kind of like a theatre of the mind experience. And I'm always trying to think, is what I'm hearing, am I kind of making this up? They seem to be everywhere at once. You'd hear gunfire down the hall, but the next minute you'd hear an explosion outside the door.